Hi everyone, Joe Mitchell here. I'm here joined by my dad Brendan. We're here just to give you a quick insight of how Fine Car came to be, how we ended up, taking over the business. Give you a bit of background on Brendan, his experience in the industry of auctioneering, and our love for cars. Just give you an idea of how the family business came to be. So, Brendan, we're here today in my home office. Brendan's come down. We've been at a nice car show today. But well, thanks for joining us, Dad. Having a nice cup of tea.
Nice cup of tea, Joe, mate. Thank you, Joe.
So just wanted to have a quick chat then, introduce you guys to us. So I'll let Brendan do some talking then. So Brendan, why don't you tell our audience a bit about your career so far, how you ended up in here, auctioneering, etc.
Okay. Hello, everybody. This is something we plan to do on a regular basis. So if you've got some questions, if we're not quite getting where you want to be, please feel free to just give us some feedback and what have you. My name's Brendan Mitchell. I joined an auction house quite by chance in 1980, and have more or less we're now in 2023 and have more or less been in and around auctions all that time. Once you get a buzz of an auction, it's a very difficult thing to replicate. I did leave the industry, albeit briefly, for a few years, and although remained in sales, I never replicated that buzz of an auction. So here we are. Joe and I now run an online auction house, which is the way that the businesses have really morphed since COVID. We do plan to go to the more traditional types of auction in the future, the quite near future, but at the moment it's an online auction house on a time-based auction site selling classic and modern classic sports cars and supercars.
And so from your side, Dad, obviously, so you started out, like you said, in 1986, was it?
1980.
1980, so again, hair probably wasn't as white as it is now, but started off, a long time ago in the auction industry at Sotheby's on Bond Street, London.
Correct.
Started in the post room, right?
That's absolutely correct. I started in the post room in 1980 with a view that I would do 6 months and then find something else to do. However, 24 years later, I left, having travelled the world as an operations and administration manager, plus as an auctioneer though. So that's where my sort of upbringing was as a child, a 16-year-old young man. I entered into the auction world, didn't know anything about it, and never really left it.
So, and then of course you came back to Sotheby's 2015?
2015 after an absence of about 10 years. I came back. And the more or less nothing had changed in that 10 years. Although in that 5 or 6 years that I was back there, things did begin to start changing. Technology had really now started to kick in.
And of course, COVID, like you said, accelerated that. And
COVID accelerated everything within most industries, especially the auction world. Suddenly everything went from the traditional auction house where you'd have bums on seats, people on telephones, to literally empty rooms and people just clicking.
And so Sotheby's, you've had some really cool moments while you were there. Most notably, what would you say is the most notable? There's two really big ones in my head.
There are so many that I could relate, but the two that probably point out, and my mates contact me more and more about it. First one was in 1997 when I was involved in the filming of the Only Fools and Horses, when Rodney and Big Brother Del Boy sold the watch. I was in that particular episode. They used some of Sotheby's staff and lots of extras. Quite an extraordinary Saturday's worth of filming, which ended up with, 4 minutes of TV, but quite extraordinary to see everything behind the scenes, including crash mats for when Del Boy fainted and then Rodney fainted. That was a real fun thing to do, and it stayed with me. I still get texts at Christmas Day where people say, "Oh, I've just seen you on the TV," you know. Yeah, great, okay, brilliant. And I'm not blasé, it's fantastic. I mean, unfortunately, I didn't get royalties. I think I got paid 50 quid at the time, and that was it. But I wish I had got royalties for it, because I mean, that would have, the amount of times it's obviously on TV when I get a text. So that was that.
I think if you'd asked for royalties, they'd have probably just got another extra into it, someone else from the Sotheby's backroom staff. But yeah, that one's always been amazing. Every year at Christmas, you see Dad on the TV. I'll try and find a clip of it and maybe put it in the frame somewhere here, because I'll find the clip of him in there. You do see him in the background. A much younger Brendan, but and then the other most notable one, I mean,
I suppose the most notable one, is Joe's a big fan of Banksy. He's just been to an exhibition in Glasgow to see what he said was a wonderful exhibition. Banksy, worldwide name. I used to travel a lot with the auction house, and I returned to London on a Friday morning from Hong Kong, having getting off the BA27, which lands at sort of 6 o'clock in the morning at Heathrow. Shower at Heathrow, and then straight to the office, which was quite normal. Having the BA26 and BA27 leave at midnight and midnight 30 Hong Kong time, landing 6:30 London time. So if you're able to sleep on an aeroplane, which I am, full night's sleep. So to do a full day's work was nothing extraordinary. So I landed on the Friday morning, and that evening there was contemporary art sale, and it was the evening of the famous shredding of the Banksy.
Yeah, and so I'll link the clip to that as well. It's all over his Instagram. But yeah, as Dad mentioned, there's an exhibit at the moment in Glasgow of his work, and it's very weird. You have to lock your phones away. So sadly, I couldn't get a photo of this, but it's very bizarre walking into a Banksy exhibition and seeing a video of your dad looping on the screen. I'll try and post a clip of that as well in there. But you just see, if you've never seen the clip, basically he rigged a frame around his piece of art that was being sold. He rigged it up to shred the painting as soon as the final bid had gone through, and it, gavel had gone down, just started shredding with a nice beeping noise to draw people's attention to it. And what you see in the video is just everyone's reactions in the room. Dad's just like white as a sheet, and everyone has no idea what's going on. But it's very bizarre. You walk into the Banksy exhibit, and there he is. Your dad's just centre stage on a Banksy exhibit. It was very bizarre, especially considering it was when you can go to the Banksy exhibit all night, and it was 12:15 in the morning. I was there with my little sister and my girlfriend, and and you just see your dad there just in the middle of a Banksy exhibit.
It's quite extraordinary. I mean, I have sat through, there won't be too many people in the auction world that have sat through many, and there are a few because they didn't leave for that 10-year period. There's not many that have sat through as many auctions as I have, and I have never ever seen this. I mean, I've seen people walk up and order a gin and tonic. We used to wear black tie for the evening sales, and someone would come walking up and say, "Can I have a gin and tonic, young man?" I'm not the waiter, sir. I've seen various different things. I've seen people arguing with auctioneers. I've seen people fainting. I've seen chair collapse, and someone ended up on the floor banging their head, and you try not to laugh because they were all right. But I'd never seen a mini explosion, and then the faces of myself and other colleagues. What is happening here? So, really didn't realise at the time what an impact that would be on the art world, and the follow up and the famous Banksy shredding.
Yeah, so one of your I'd say arguably one of the most iconic moments in modern art in general, let alone, and so the fact that you're in the video on the Banksy's Instagram and at his exhibit is incredible. But so that was was that the start of 2020 or just before 2019?
I'm going to say, Joe, that was probably 2018.
Oh, okay.
2018. I think we better check that, and that won't be difficult to check. But I think based on my memory of where I was the week after, which was on a beach in Greece, for a late holiday, I think that was 2018.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then fast forward a couple of years, like you said, COVID accelerated a lot of stuff with the auction houses. a lot of it started to go online because again weren't allowed to be in the rooms. And you know, the auction world was still, it was arguably behind a lot of other industries in that sense that they hadn't really caught up. They weren't as digital as they could have been, but that really accelerated it. And nowadays, you know, it's every auction house is online as well.
Yeah, I think what I will say there, I think as the auction house I represented for many years, Sotheby's happened to be on the forefront of a lot of technology, and they were very much the forerunners of bringing these. I mean, within a week, these auctions were re-happening. Some of the other auction houses were quick to follow, but they were definitely following an example that Sotheby's were setting due to foresight. I'm not sure. Maybe future planning that this was the way things were going to go. But certainly COVID did accentuate the way auction houses, and as I said at the top of the conversation, lots of other business have morphed into.
And then, so fast forward, let's go on to then Fine Car. How did that come about? So,
right, so Fine Car came about. I met a man who was a very successful businessman who had set up Fine Car company during COVID, and he ended up. Joe and I ended up purchasing the business from him. To cut a long story short, this guy set it up. He was a car nut, very successful businessman, but things changed within the industry, and he decided that it was time to move on. So Joe and I said, well, we'll pick up the reins on this, and this basically is where we are now.
Yeah, I mean, so like you said, you sort of went in there as the employee number one for the previous owner, helped him get it off the ground, but like you said, other extenuating circumstances with previous owner, he just didn't have the time and the commitment that he wanted to put towards the business. So yeah, that was the point. You know, you needed a bit of help running some of the other stuff behind the scenes. I mean, we've always been into cars.
Yeah.
You were a massive car fan our whole lives. It's you know, I mean, from Mac.
Mac, as we called that little medium-sized Opel Manta.
Yeah, so that's one of my earliest memories is sitting in that Opel with my sisters, you know, going to south of France and stuff in it. You know, but yeah, it's always been something we've been massively interested in, and it was just, it just seemed like a perfect opportunity to get involved. And you know, who doesn't want to sell classic cars for a living? It's an unbelievable industry. So yeah, it seemed like a no-brainer. I sort of help out on the side.
I think caveat to that, help out. We were a two-man business, and Joe is very much the tech whiz with the new ideas, the new formats, the new ways to do things. We're constantly brainstorming about how we can make things better. But the one thing that we have got is a unique client service where the clients, whether buyer or seller, have our 100% attention.
Yeah, I mean, what I meant by like help out on the side is that it's you know, it's a passion project of mine. It's on top of my other actual day job that I am doing as well. So it's a weekend and evening sort of project for me. But again, that doesn't mean that, you know, we don't get stuff done on time for you, and we are dedicated. That Brendan's on it full time. I'm weekends and evenings. I get everything sorted. To deliver that great level of service for you. You know, hopefully in the future it will turn into a full-time job for me as well, but at the moment, you know, it's a passion project for me. But yeah, we're really enjoying the journey so far. You know, we're hoping to grow the YouTube side of things as well, and content, and bring you guys some exciting content for you to watch, not just us two sat here having a cup of tea. But we just thought it'd be good to introduce you to us, get an idea of where we are in the story, you know, tell you about Brendan had amazing career in auctions already in Sotheby's, primarily, you know, a few other stints of consultancies and stuff in other places, but you know, it's an amazing story so far, and you know, we're hoping for Fine Car this is just the beginning, and we're looking to grow it into live auctions next summer. Obviously, as we're talking to you now, it's end of summer 23, but by, you know, spring 24, summer 24, we're looking to move into some live auctions as well. And hopefully just bringing you more content that you want to see, more engaging content around the cars, you know, learn some facts about the cars, and yeah, and hopefully bring you some of the cars you actually want to buy as well. So I don't think there's much more else to say today. We didn't want it to be too long, and it's probably already longer than we hoped. But yeah, we'll leave you with that, if anyone's even listening. And yeah, I mean, have a look at our website at the moment. We've got quite a good selection of cars up.
Finecarco.com
or .co.uk,
whichever way. And we'd love to hear from you. You know, if, as I said at the top, if there's anything else you want to know we haven't covered, feel free to ask. There's never such thing as a silly question about auctions, how they work, about the cars themselves, about how we work, how our clients interact with us. Anything you want to know, feel free. Yeah,
let us know. And yeah, we'll hopefully be bringing you some more interesting guests as well in the coming weeks. Got a few calls lined up and chats with some other people in the industry who are doing some amazing stuff. So we'll have some conversations around that for you as well. Hopefully a bit more interesting than just us two having a cup of tea here talking about. Well, I think it's been quite interesting anyway. You know, in your career's been fantastic so far. Not many people can say they've been in a Banksy exhibit and an Only Fools. You're probably the only person in the world that ticks them two boxes: an Only Fools episode and a Banksy exhibit. So, yeah, thanks for joining us. And yeah, like Brendan said, any questions, feel free to reach out to us, leave a comment on the socials, or give us a call. The details are all on the website.
Speak to you soon. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.
I've actually nearly finished my tea, so I'll have to wing it.
Well, you can keep the tea bag on camera if you want. Right, okay, we are filming.